picture this situation. This person was applying for a remote tech role.
Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, and they felt incredibly confident. I mean, they had spent days, maybe even weeks, preparing for all those common interview questions. You know the ones.
Right, like, what is your biggest weakness? Or tell me about a time you overcame a challenge.
Exactly. Or, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They had perfect, polished answers ready to go for all of those. But during the Mercor AI interview, this highly prepared candidate completely froze.
Well, yeah, because the system completely ignores all of those standard expected questions.
It really does. Instead of asking about their greatest strength or like their leadership philosophy, the AI suddenly locked onto one tiny, seemingly unimportant skill. And this skill was listed way down at the bottom of their resume.
Oh, no. Let me guess, it was something highly specific.
It was a math typing tool called LaTeX.
Ah, yeah. That is a very specific piece of software. It's a typesetting system mostly used for formatting complex scientific and mathematical documents.
Right.
People usually put it on their resume just to show they have been exposed to academic research.
Exactly. And for a human recruiter, that is usually where it ends. A human looks at it, they nod, and they just move on.
Right. They just skim past it.
But the AI just started asking highly specific technical questions about exactly how to use it. It wanted to know the underlying logic behind the tool.
Wow.
Yeah, it asked for specific formatting rules. It asked for real-world examples of how they solved a formatting error.
And let me guess, they didn't actually know how to use it that well.
Not at all. The candidate had just put that word on their resume to look well-rounded. They couldn't actually explain the mechanics of it out loud, so they were completely staring at the camera in silence.
And you know, this connects to exactly why our resume can become a massive, unexpected trap in an AI interview.
A trap. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It really is. And the thing is, it's not because the candidate's resume is bad. It's not because their actual core skills for the job are weak. It happens because, well, we are all trained to write resumes for human eyes.
Right, for the 6-second scan.
Exactly. Impressive keywords get you attention from a human recruiter who only scans the page for a few seconds. But in a Mercor interview, every single line is treated as high-value data.
So it's reading everything.
Everything, every single word can generate targeted follow-up questions.
We have been looking at candidate reports, reading all this source material to figure out how the system actually works. And it feels like adding a fancy keyword to your resume without knowing how to explain it. It's like setting a trap for yourself in the woods.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
And then you just completely forget how to disarm it when you step on it. You think you are making yourself look stronger, but you're actually just giving the system ammunition to use against you.
That is exactly what is happening.
But I have to ask, why does it do this? Does the AI really zero in on everything you write?
It really does. And the reason comes down to how these AI systems actually process information. When a human reads your resume, they look for a general feeling, a vibe of competence.
Right, just a general impression.
But when the AI reads your resume, it treats it like a menu of testable facts. It is literally programmed to read your document and dynamically generate a unique grading rubric directly from your own text.
Oh, wow. So it builds the test based on what you give it.
Exactly. Which brings us to a very important mission for you, the listener, as you prepare for this process. Before an AI interview, do not just practice standard interview questions.
Yeah, skip the generic stuff.
You must prepare for every single important line on your own resume. If you list a skill, a tool, a project, or a hobby, you have to be ready to explain it simply and clearly.
Okay, let's look at the mechanics of this, because I understand why it might target a hard skill like Python. That is really easy to test.
Sure.
But surely it can't cross-examine something less technical. I mean, what do these traps actually look like in the real world? What are some specific examples of resume details that candidates report causing unexpected trouble?
Well, some candidates report getting stuck on a really wide variety of details, and it goes far beyond just software.
Like what?
Of course, programming languages like Python or database tools like SQL or Common Targets, those are easy to verify. We already mentioned LaTeX.
Right.
But think about the softer skills or side projects people include to look well-rounded. If you list tutoring on your resume, you probably just meant, I helped some student.
Yeah, just basic tutoring.
But the AI will look at that and ask about your specific teaching methods. It will ask how you enact your communication style for a student who is failing versus a student who is bored.
Wait, really? It treats tutoring as a hard pedagogical skill to be evaluated.
It absolutely does. Or consider remote AI jobs. Many people list AI training, model evaluation, or chain of thought reasoning because those are the big buzzwords right now.
Yeah, everyone wants those on their resume.
Right, but the AI will not just say, good job using those words. It will expect you to break down exactly how those processes work.
So what kind of questions would it ask?
It will ask, how did you structure your prompts to ensure the model used chain of thought? Or what specific metrics did you use during your model evaluation to check for bias?
Wow. That makes sense for highly technical roles, I guess.
Yeah.
But what if someone is applying for a more general position? Are there traps there too?
Oh, absolutely. General topics like math concepts, research projects, data analysis, or even just building Excel dashboards.
People love writing that they build Excel dashboards.
They do, but the AI will find that and ask, did you use Power Query? How did you handle the raw data cleaning before it went into the dashboard? What was the exact business impact?
That is so specific.
It is. But beyond individual skills, there is a major red flag that catches a lot of people off guard. It might actually be the biggest trap of all.
What is it?
Group projects.
Group projects. You mean like university assignments or a team launch at a previous job?
Yes, exactly. Any project on your resume where you wrote, we did this, or our team achieved that. The AI is specifically tuned to look for individual contribution.
Ah, I see.
So if you cannot clearly isolate your personal role in that group project, the AI will quickly expose that gap.
Let's actually play this out because I want to feel how intense this gets.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll put myself in the shoes of a worried candidate. Let's say I have a line on my resume that says, we built a marketing database that increased sales. How deep does the AI actually go? Does it just ask, tell me about this database?
Well, let's try it. I will act as the AI. So if you say, we built a marketing database, I will ask, what was your exact personal role in designing the architecture of that database?
Oh, and I might say, well, I worked with the team to make sure the data was clean and organized for the sales team.
Then the AI adapts instantly. It will ask, what specific data cleaning techniques did you personally apply, and how did you evaluate the quality of the data before the sales team used it?
Oh, wow. I can feel the pressure already. That is so much more intense than a simple yes or no.
It really is.
It totally backs you into a corner if you were just the person, taking notes in those meetings.
And the thing is, it does not stop there. Because the AI doesn't have human empathy.
Right. It doesn't care.
Exactly. It doesn't see you sweating or looking nervous. It just follows its programming. So it will keep expanding deeper into the topic. It will ask follow-up after follow-up.
Like what else would it ask?
It will ask, what made that specific data cleaning task difficult? Or can you give an example of a time the data was corrupted and how you fixed it?
That is brutal.
It will keep digging until you either give a clear technical breakdown or you get stuck and start using vague language.
And if I use vague language, like what if I just say, I just used Excel to make things better?
Well, the AI is programmed to detect vague language because it needs concrete data for its rubric. If you say, I made things better, it will immediately counter with exactly what metrics did you use to measure how it got better.
So it's essentially an authenticity test.
Yes, very much so.
Which brings up something really important, especially for ESL candidates. People who speak English as a second language.
This is a huge point.
I have talked to so many applicants who feel a huge amount of anxiety about speaking to a camera. There's this overwhelming temptation to make your written resume look much stronger on paper than your actual comfortable speaking ability.
Yeah, that is a very common dynamic, and it makes sense. When you write a resume, you have time. You can use a dictionary. You can use grammar checkers.
Right? You can spend hours finding the perfect complex phrasing.
Exactly. You make it sound like a masterclass in business English, but then you get into this interview, you have to speak about those complex concepts live, under pressure.
In your second language.
Yes, in your second language, to a machine that is analyzing your every word and adapting in real time. If your resume reads like it was written by an academic scholar, but you speak at an intermediate level, the AI immediately flags a discrepancy.
Oh, I see.
That is the core issue. The AI assumes your spoken English will match the vocabulary on your resume. If you use highly advanced, jargon-heavy language on the paper, the AI will use highly advanced, jargon-heavy language in its questions.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It can be. For an AI interview, a simple, honest resume is actually much safer than a keyword-heavy one. You want your written words to set realistic expectations for your spoken English.
So it is better to sound natural and accurate than to sound falsely impressive.
100%.
But how do we actually fix this before the interview?
Yeah.
If I am a listener sitting at home right now looking at my resume, How do I check it to make sure I'm not walking into one of these traps?
There is a very practical, calming method you can use right now before you even hit the apply button. Think of it as a resume audit.
Okay, an audit. I like that.
For every single line on your document, you need to put it through a strict filter. You must ask yourself 5 simple questions.
Let's do this actively. I'm looking at a line on my hypothetical resume right now. It says, implemented agile methodologies for software deployment.
Okay, classic resume speak.
What is the first question I need to ask myself?
Question number 1, can I explain this in simple English? Pretend you were talking to a beginner. Can you explain what an agile methodology is without relying on more confusing business jargon?
That's a great test.
Right. If you cannot explain it simply, you do not understand it well enough for the AI, and it might be a trap.
That makes perfect sense. Because if I have to use more buzzwords to explain the first buzzword, I am definitely in trouble.
Exactly.
Okay, so I passed that test. What is question 2?
Question 2, can I give one clear example? Theory is not enough. Do you have a real-world story ready to go where you specifically use this skill?
So I need a specific memory attached to the claim.
Okay, got it.
What is the third question?
Question 3, can I say what I personally did? This goes right back to our group project warning. Look at the sentence. Does it say, we implemented? You must be able to confidently change that we to an I.
So instead of, we deployed the software, I need to be able to say, I wrote the testing script for the deployment.
Exactly. That is much safer.
Okay, question 4.
Question 4, can I answer one follow-up question about it? You have to anticipate how the AI will push back. If the AI asks, why did you choose that specific method over another? Or, what is one thing that went wrong during that project? Do you have an answer ready?
I love that. You have to play chess with your own resume. Just thinking one move ahead.
It really is like chess. And the final question.
Yeah, what is question 5?
Question 5, am I exaggerating this skill? Be brutally honest with yourself. Did you actually lead the project, or did you just assist the project manager?
Right.
Did you build the entire database, or did you just type data into it?
That 5-question audit is incredibly helpful. Explain it simply. Give one example. Isolate your personal role, prepare for a follow-up, and check for exaggeration.
It covers all the bases.
But let's be realistic here. What if the answer to one of those questions is no? What if I look at a line on my resume and realize I cannot explain it simply? Or I'm definitely exaggerating my role just a little bit to look better.
Then you have to make a choice. You must seriously consider removing that skill entirely or rewriting it to soften the claim.
Really? Just take it off.
Yes. It is so much better to have a shorter resume that you can defend perfectly than a long, impressive-looking resume that is full of weak spots.
How do you soften a claim without making yourself look bad?
By being specific about your boundaries. For instance, let's say you took a 3-week online course in Python. Instead of writing advanced Python developer on your resume, it is much safer to write basic Python for data cleaning.
Basic Python for data cleaning. I see what you did there.
It works, right?
Yeah, it still shows you have a valuable technical skill, which helps you get the interview. But it sets a very realistic boundary for the AI. You're essentially programming the AI, telling it exactly what level of questions it is allowed to ask you.
Precisely. You are controlling the boundaries of the interview before it even begins. Keep the tools and projects you can confidently discuss and have the discipline to remove the rest.
Okay, let's fast forward. I have audited my resume. It is honest. It is clear. The English matches my actual speaking level.
Perfect.
I am sitting in the interview. The AI asks me a totally valid question about a detail I intentionally kept on my resume. How should I actually structure my answer?
Well, this is important.
Because some candidates report that if they ramble or talk in circles trying to find their point, the AI will actually cut them off and move to the next question.
That happens quite often. The AI prefers structured, measurable answers. It has a rubric to fill out, and if you give it 5 minutes of wandering thoughts, it cannot extract the data it needs.
So how do we avoid rambling?
You do not need to memorize complicated corporate frameworks, but a simple structure will keep you focused and keep the AI satisfied. When you are asked about a skill or a project, organize your answer like a short story with 5 beats.
Walk me through the beats.
First, state what it is. Second, explain how you used it. Third, specify what you personally did. Fourth, give one specific example. And finally, share what you learned or improved.
Let's test that out. Let's say the AI asks about my time managing a social media account.
Okay, go for it.
First, what it is. It was a marketing campaign for a local bakery. Second, how I used it. I used Instagram to reach new customers.
Good. Very clear.
Third, What I personally did. I personally designed the daily graphics and wrote the captions. Fourth, one example. For example, I ran a weekend promotion that brought in 50 new followers.
Nice. And the last one.
And fifth, what I learned. I learned how to analyze engagement metrics to see which posts worked best.
That flows very naturally.
Yeah, it really forces you to be concise.
Exactly. It gives the AI exactly the data points it is looking for without any extra fluff. The AI values clear, direct communication. If you follow that simple structure, you will likely answer the question in about 60 to 90 seconds.
Which is pretty fast.
It is the perfect length to keep the interview moving smoothly.
That is incredibly practical. But I still have a lingering worry.
What's that?
Let's say I follow that exact structure. I give my beautiful, concise answer. But the AI adapts. It pushes too hard.
Okay, it happens.
It asks a follow-up question that goes way beyond my actual experience.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't exaggerate on my resume, I kept it to basic Python. But the AI just keeps digging deeper and asks me to write a complex sorting algorithm. What do I do?
That's a fair concern.
I feel like the natural human instinct is to panic, freeze, or try to invent an answer so I don't look stupid.
Do not invent an answer, and absolutely do not panic. Remember, the AI is testing the limits of your knowledge. That is its job.
So it's okay if I don't know.
It is completely acceptable and even expected to find that limit. You just need to know how to pivot safely. There are specific, honest phrases you can use to protect yourself and set boundaries without sounding unprepared.
Give me some of those phrases. I want the listener to be able to write these down and use them.
Okay, if the AI asks for advanced coding logic or high-level strategy, but you only use the tool for simple, everyday tasks, you can say, I used it mainly for basic tasks, not advanced development.
Oh, that is great. It answers the question by clearly defining your limit. You aren't saying, I don't know. You're saying, that falls outside the scope of my experience. What is another one?
Let's say it asks you to evaluate a complex mathematical model you aren't familiar with, or a piece of software you only touched once. You can say, I have some experience with it, but I would not call myself an expert.
That's just so neutralizing. I have some experience with it, but I would not call myself an expert. It shows humility.
It really does.
What if it goes back to the group project issue? Let's say it asks about the entire financial budget of a software launch, but you are only on the testing team.
Then you use this phrase, you say, my role was mainly focused on, and you steer the conversation directly back to what you actually did.
Like, my role was mainly focused on testing the user interface.
Exactly. You gently pull the AI back into your comfort zone.
You are steering the conversation.
Precisely. Here is one more. If it asks you to explain a highly academic concept, maybe something you learned in university 5 years ago and only remember a little bit of, you can say, I can explain the basic idea.
Okay, I like that.
Or, I may need to refresh some specific details, but the main point was...
Let me repeat those so they really sink in for you listening at home, because these are lifesavers.
Go ahead.
I used it mainly for basic tasks, not advanced development. I have some experience with it, but I would not call myself an expert. My role was mainly focused on, I can explain the basic idea, and I may need to refresh some details, but the main point was...
Perfect.
Those phrases are incredibly empowering. They give you a polite, professional way to tell a machine to stop digging. They act as a pressure release valve for your anxiety.
They also show profound self-awareness. A good professional knows exactly what they know, and they are not afraid to admit what they do not know.
That's a great point.
And the AI system is sophisticated enough to recognize and accept that clarity.
It all comes back to radical honesty, doesn't it? The biggest takeaway here for you listening is this. Do not spend all your time practicing generic, one-size-fits-all interview answers. Practice reading and defending your own resume out loud. If you wrote the word, you have to be ready to speak about the word.
That is the core truth of this entire process. The AI interview might feel deeply intimidating. It is a new technology. And sitting alone in a room, talking to a camera while an algorithm analyzes your words, it can feel very strange.
It definitely feels unnatural at first.
But there is a very comforting truth hiding inside all of this. The most difficult question you will face in this interview will not be a random puzzle.
Right.
It will not be a trick question pulled out of thin air to confuse you. It will come directly from a line you wrote yourself.
Which means there are no real surprises. The monster in the closet is just your own resume. As long as you know your document inside and out, you are safe.
Exactly, because the AI only knows what you feed it. That means you are actually the one in complete control of the interview.
That is a very empowering way to look at it.
You set the agenda based on the specific words you choose to submit. You hold the map. As long as you have the courage to edit your resume down to your absolute, undeniable truth, you will be entirely ready for whatever questions come your way.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? For decades, the corporate world has basically run on exaggerated resumes and puffed-up job titles.
Oh, without a doubt.
Everyone pretends to be a little more of an expert than they actually are. But if editing your resume down to absolute brutal honesty is the only way to survive an AI interview, will this technology actually force the professional world to finally stop exaggerating?
That is a fascinating question.
That is something to think about the next time you update your skills section.